Welcome to Bourbon Taste-Offs, playoff brackets of the best whiskeys. Join us in our season-long quest to find our tastiest bourbon. And here are the playoff brackets of the best whiskeys. They include the first quarter. The first 3 months are done in the books. Here is the list of what is advanced. We are currently recording the second quarter. Please listen into the episodes and follow along and join us in this journey. Hello, welcome to Bourbon Taste-Offs. This is episode number 30, and in this episode, we are tasting some finished whiskeys. And we are your hosts. I'm Todd.
I'm Bekah.
And Adam.
Very good. And at the end of this episode, we know what we're tasting, but you don't, so we're going to show you right now what we're tasting. In this episode, glass 1 is Angel's Envy Triple Oak. Glass 2 is Dexter 3 Wood. Glass 3 is Old Elk Cigar Cut. And glass 4 is Dexter Small Batch Wheat. All right, so we're back, and we're going to find out what is going to go against number 1. And Bekah's going to pick a number.
If I can find one. Number 3.
Number 3.
Number 3, my lord.
So we're all going to do a cheers. I like to do that before anybody starts drinking.
Bumps.
Cheers, you guys.
Cheers.
Are we noticing any differences between 1 and 3 while it's in the glass?
Color-wise, they're fairly similar.
I think so, too.
Extremely similar.
I think 3 might be a little more orange, 1 might be a little more yellow.
I agree.
Feeling the same way.
But that's hard from the colorblind kid to make those distinctions.
I'm really enjoying the nose
There's a
on
fruity
this.
tartness to this.
Do you enjoy that or don't you
No,
like that?
I really like it.
Okay. I kinda do
Especially
too.
moving into fall. Like, it's like that nice, like, happy, cool weather, crisp.
I love crisp air. We were at a party last night, and the host was talking about her favorite times of year, and she said spring and summer. And I'm like, how is spring and fall not your favorite?
I love fall
Fall
so
is
much.
awesome.
My wife, not so much, because the season that follows it, she dreads the entire rest of fall, and she can't really enjoy it as much.
I mean, it's already getting dark at 6:45 now.
There are negatives.
There are negatives.
There are negatives to it. However, like the weather is really kind of nice. I like that crisp.
This has been a nice October.
Yeah.
I know we're only on day 6, but it's been a really nice October. This one's extremely mild to me.
I'm getting a little bit of pear, maybe, out of it.
Are we still on the nose, or are we?
Yeah, I
tasting
haven't
it?
tasted anything.
Okay,
yet.
No, I
neither.
tasted.
Okay,
But like I said, I'm getting lots of fruit notes.
I am too. Yeah, I like that nose. I think I would go on a limb and say that that's proof negative.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's low proof for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And I didn't do any homework on what these are, so I
Right.
can't
No,
really add anything.
I would
There's this
definitely agree
tartness
that.
I can't get past that I'm like feeling in the back, you know?
Oh, okay.
Are you getting that at all? That it kind of just floods your palate all around the tongue and you feel it all the way?
So far,
No?
what I'm feeling is still like front to mid tongue, like
Okay.
nothing's
Yeah, I
way
got
back.
a lot of mid palate
Yeah.
stuff going on.
When I first took it, I was like, "That's almost like a wash of water, almost like
Yes,
it was so mellow."
It was wetting,
Yeah,
Only
it
on
was-
the finish.
It's definitely not dry.
right.
Yeah.
Where
no.
you go to swallow, I get the pinchness.
Oh, okay.
I could be crazy.
No, we're just focusing on different things right now. So
But it is.
when we do another retaste, we might.
Very mellow.
There's a little bit of
On the
funk,
tongue.
I think, at the end towards the back of your palate. You kind
That's
of
what
like
you're
get it
getting
back to it.
on the finish.
Yep. Sometimes, knowing that they're finished whiskeys, sometimes I can get them from a rum cask. Some like the different rums will have a little bit more of that funkiness to them, which is kind of fun.
Right.
Like one of those ones. But yeah, it's I'm not getting huge oak. I'm not getting a lot of leathers. I'm not getting much char at all, if any.
I'm not getting high sugars.
I'm not getting high sugars.
Right.
No.
Isn't that neat though? It's like it's gonna be like, okay, when it comes out, we'll remember that we're making all these notes
Yes,
on it,
yes.
where it's like kind of mellow, and we should be getting more. I mean,
Yes.
based on finished products.
Correct. But like we've done before, it's like whoever your blender is, right, makes a huge difference
Yeah.
on what they're going for, you know, in your barrel stuff, you know, and how long it was in the finishing barrels or, you know, different things that way.
Yeah. Well, we'll have it go against 3.
Getting a lot of caramels out of number 3, smell wise.
On the nose?
Like the Werther's Pavilion at Epcot.
What is that?
So at Epcot, they have the World Showcase. It's around a lagoon of different countries. And
Okay.
There's different pavilions for each company. So in Germany, Werther's sponsors their bakery, you know, and they've got caramel popcorn, caramel apples, caramel, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So he's saying it smells like the caramel at that pavilion.
Yeah, like the warm melted caramel.
Does Werther's make a hard candy as well?
Yes.
Yes. So
Okay.
like
You've
it's
seen them in the grocery store,
Right,
the little gold wrappers.
Yes.
one of our favorite things to get there. They make a caramel apple pie, caramel apple. And it's delicious. It's the Werther's caramel with a white chocolate and a graham cracker dunk on the end. And super awesome. First time we went there, we're like, this is amazing. And then next time we came back, they're like, we've never heard of this before. It's never
Yeah,
existed.
because all the employees, you know.
They change over all the time.
Oh, sure.
And a lot
some
of times they're
people
like a
that are
student
lifers.
exchange program or whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, we came back the last time and it was back. And they're like, oh yeah, we've had this forever. I'm like, okay, what is it? Is this forever thing or is this an occasional thing? And actually that works out well because I'm getting a little bit of apple note too.
When you
the
said
nose.
that and I retasted it,
Yeah.
I am getting almost like a caramel apple.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
It's kind of nice.
It is kind of nice.
With a little bit of baking spice in there too. It's very pleasant.
It is.
I would say it's proof neutral. The proof's negative, so probably like somewhere between like 95 and 100.
I would
is
think
my
so.
guess.
That's what my guess would be too, because I'm not getting a lot of lip burn or
Right.
tongue burn where you're thinking proof
But there's
positive.
still enough flavor there, so it's unlike the Basil Hayden where you're like, oh, hey, it's a thing, and then it kind of disappears. Like it still lingers a little bit.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
and it's enjoyable. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it's very nice.
And
Finish does have a nice zesty spice on it.
I was treated. Thank you, both of you, for bringing over some Penelope marshmallow and the Penelope Killer, the toasted.
Yes.
Well, it's a liquor store single
Store pick, yeah.
pick.
That's what they named it, yeah.
Yeah. And that was delicious as well. And this is starting to remind me a little bit of those notes. You know.
Oh yeah, because the secondary finish. on
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
So very, very tasty.
I'm not going to guess what the finish is on this, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I've already picked 3.
I think based on our notes and
Yeah.
our comments,
It's more complex.
I'm gonna
go 3.
go 3 as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
I think
No, I think it was pretty apparent when we were
Yeah.
all kind of making notes
When
about
we,
it.
Well, we sipped one a lot more, trying to find as much info as we could, and then we
Yes.
got to 3 and we're like, oh, information.
Yeah.
Like these are flavors, these are profiles. It really helps that way.
Yeah, that's gonna be good against whatever's on this side because that was pretty tasty.
Yeah. Put one over here. 3
Thank
goes
you
over
guys. You
here.
guys brought a bottle to partake in this episode.
Fantastic.
The 3 I had never, it was fresh cracks, so I'd never even tasted any of them. And I didn't taste the one that you brought, so
Yeah.
this is completely blind, other than I know what the options are. So would that be a single
You
blind?
don't know what they taste like.
Single blind for me.
No, not necessarily because you haven't had it yet.
That's true.
Right? It's still like double blind just because like I know I've the brand, Pappy 24 or Lot B. It doesn't mean I can pick it out of a lineup.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, there's a little bit of nuance on how the double blind or single blind, because it's like typically a single blind, you don't know what's in front of you, but you know what you have, and you know basically what they taste like, right?
Right.
Would that be the
Yeah.
factual
Right.
statement?
Yeah.
on
If
it?
there's one that you're like, ooh, this is one I have all the time, and you're trying to find it in the lineup, then that'd be a single blind,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I would think so. So essentially, this is still a double blind then.
Getting a lot of oak out of this one. Maybe even a little bit of like mint or eucalyptus.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's a pleasant nose.
Eucalyptus. Because I was trying to figure out what it was, and I'm like, I
Yeah.
like this. It's,
Yeah.
it's welcoming. It's
Yeah.
calming. It's great. But
A lot of times
It's
you get that eucalyptus smell out of like the Four Roses single barrel stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like, a contender for maybe a candle
Ooh, that man, a soap.
or
Hand
soap.
soap. Oh,
Bath and Body Works.
bourbon eucalyptus hand soap would be
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
I'm a fan of that nose.
It's got a sweet nose too. It's like, sometimes you get some of the bourbons where all of a sudden it's hitting you and it's all just like burnt caramels and chars, like especially all my Texas bourbons, and then like you get this one's like kind of a sweet, smooth finish just on the nose without even getting a sample.
I agree. We've got a competition. We do.
The oak flavors come out of this one I really enjoyed.
I
Yep.
expected more
Oops. Reaching.
taste based on the nose. 'Cause the nose impressed me so much that I was like, this is going to be exciting. I'm like, it's good.
Yeah, I wasn't upset with the taste either.
No.
But I think the nose gave it high expectations.
Yeah.
I think though, because
I'm getting mint on the finish, though. You said eucalyptus on the nose, mint on the finish.
it doesn't sit hot on your palate. After you
No.
get done drinking it, it cools down. That's kind of nice. Yeah.
What are we thinking about the proof point on this?
I would almost go neutral.
I'm going to say this is mid-proof as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. Yeah. I suppose it could be. I'm still like on the last one we tasted. You were talking about maybe between 95 and 100.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking maybe this as well.
Same range.
I think so.
It's under 100 proof.
Yeah. Or potentially right at 100.
Yep.
Yeah.
'Cause sometimes things can hide the proof too. Like if you have like a weeded something.
Yes. Well, and we know they're finished,
Yes.
so that can sometimes hide the proof points on those
Yeah.
items
Yeah.
for sure.
Very good.
Especially because what's it's finished and what's going on. Mm-hmm. Number 4, I'm getting some fun notes on the nose on that one. What are you getting on the
That
nose?
is interesting.
Todd?
I'm actually just. So I took a little bite of a Ritz
Yeah.
cracker
Palate cleanser.
palate cleanser. However, when I took a bite of that and then I tasted 2 again, it reminds me of like a beef stick or something. It's like
Really?
I know,
I'm not going to do that.
like I know, but it was tasty. So I'll go to 4. I haven't even nosed it.
Well, last time you didn't want to eat the maple cracker or cookie because, you
Well, they were maple flavored cookies, and you're like, you know what I get on it?
Maple.
A maple
Yeah.
maple syrup on
I
a
was
pancake.
laughing watching that episode. I'm like, you guys. Hey, I get maple. Well, no. Sir Law.
That was funny. What are we getting on the nose on 4? Or you're already kind of going back and
I
forth
went back
already.
to 2 because you mentioned beef stick and I was intrigued.
Was I totally wrong? Maybe.
No, but it does create some form of like, I think you're getting like fennel almost.
Oh,
And that's why you thought of that.
what is fennel?
So fennel's like the
in
little,
rye bread
essentially. They're in Italian sausage as well
and brats.
and brats.
Oh,
The
okay.
little seeds, the fennel seeds.
Sure. Yeah, maybe that is what it's coming through. I love that you guys teach me so much.
I'm just glad we have, conversations about this stuff. It's I was at the liquor store yesterday talking to one of the guys doing free samples on stuff, and we got into a discussion about just bourbon and some of the stuff. And one of my favorite things is the history about the bourbon and like where it comes from, like what happened in the past and all that stuff. So we were going back and forth a little bit about that. And he's like, it's like, do you just drink usually by yourself or like do you have like friends? I'm like, well, actually, like me and my wife, we spend a lot of time together drinking whiskeys and doing blinds and doing that stuff, which is a lot of fun. And then like, I go to my buddy's house and we have, whiskey and we talk about it and all that. So like, it's a good way to start conversations, but I think always whiskey is best enjoyed when you're like actually giving it the time to do its thing, and actually being able to talk about it as like an event, not just like we're just doing jack shots at the bar. I appreciate it that way.
I totally agree with you.
But on the same token, so Adam had actually mentioned to you about some app that he uses. Sometimes you go in these liquor stores and they'll start talking to you. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, this is great. It's brand new. I just got it. Blah, blah, blah. And it's way overpriced. And they just expect you to be like, not know any better.
Right.
Somebody did that to me the other day. I felt like a girl in an auto shop. And he's like, oh, I guess you know your stuff. I'm like, yeah, the MSRP on that is blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah. It is.
But I'm not listening
I'm
for
not
that.
buying yours. I know better.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, there is such a thing. Yeah, you do need to kind of be a educated consumer with some of this stuff because
there's a lot of hype about
Yes.
some stuff that's not always the best.
Right.
You know, and sometimes like there's things that are really good that are way easy to find. You know, a lot of pimps people like look over a lot of the old Forester products and it's like, dude, Brown Forman's been doing it for a long time. They make a solid product, you know. And there's other ones like Bullet. Like I'm not a hugest fan of Bullet,
No, you
but
don't
like
like their mash bill.
a lot of people like it and it's easy to find, and you know, you don't always have to hunt the crazies, you know, the unicorns, the
Right.
uncommons, the super rares, you know, to have an enjoyable experience drinking bourbon.
But if you have time while you're shopping, it makes sense to look up a review of the bottle you're looking
Oh,
at.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Because a lot of times the people that write the reviews online, they'll also include like, hey, it's worth the price
Yeah.
or not, you know.
No, if
Because-
people have disposable income, though, like they shouldn't be discouraged from buying what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I understand it's frustrating when you see things over MSRP, and it's like us three typically wouldn't go much more than MSRP. You know, we're
Correct.
not just searching because we know with patience,
Yeah.
eventually you'll
You're
come
gonna find
across
it.
stuff.
And I
But if
think
you don't
some-
have patience and you have disposable income,
Yes.
it's okay to
Yeah.
overspend
Well,
because
and
it's for the experience of it.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
like how often do you kill a bottle, right? Like so people have no problem spending 40, 50, 60 bucks on a bottle of wine, right? And a bottle of wine you go through 2 in a dinner.
You have to go through it because it
Easily,
turns
'cause-
bad otherwise.
Well, right, but like say you
Yeah.
have 4 people over, right? And
Yeah.
you go through at least 2 bottles of wine, not a problem. In a night, that's 120 bucks for 2 bottles of nice wine. Well, what's the difference of getting a $120 bottle of bourbon and you have some left over the next day?
Exactly.
You know, it's just how you want to enjoy your experience.
And that's kind of how I went into kind of going into bourbon because we used to have a wine club membership
Okay.
at a couple different places. And it wouldn't be uncommon we didn't spend this kind of money, but we would get like a bottle and we would look it up and it's like, oh, this one's worth $100.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow, that's awesome. We got a great deal on this bourbon club
Yeah.
or wine club that we're in.
right.
However, you're right. When you open it, you can't save it.
No.
You
No.
have to finish it within
Right.
a couple weeks.
And
Yeah.
even champagnes, they have those special bottle toppers that kind of,
Right.
it's still the next
That
day.
just
gotta
but
go.
even that just
Yeah.
keeps it good for the next hour.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
like if you want to make cocktails or whatever, day.
hour day. I don't know. Somewhere in that point.
Right, but it's not like a bottle of whiskey where you can pop a cork and next year come back to it and enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
And not only that, but I actually like the flavors and nuances out of bourbon more than wine because it's less fruity and it's just more
Yeah.
earthy and
You're consuming
leathery.
less of the product.
And for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You're not having a 6-ounce pour of bourbon.
I mean, I've definitely had a 6-ounce pour, you know.
Right.
You shouldn't have a 6-ounce pour of bourbon.
Know your audience, Bekah.
So number 4, I am getting a little bit of like a tropical fruit kind of banana spice note on it on the nose. That I kind of do enjoy.
I can see that.
Yeah. And then like flavor profile wise, I think it's got a really clean finish. It's kind of got like a leather blackcurrant flavor to it.
It's pleasant. When
Yeah.
I first had it, I think it was just too close to these two, you know, and that's why I like that we just have a little second to talk about different things and let our palate kind of refresh, and then
Right.
we take another sip, and it does become different.
It does.
It's almost I don't want to say situational, but
Well, it's like, you know, like we always say too, it's like you're pairing what you're eating with what you're drinking, right? Well, if you go right back to back, you kind of lose some of the stuff that's
Yes.
going on with inside each whiskey.
yep, I agree. I'm enjoying both of these.
Yeah, I'm not upset either one of these.
No, this one,
I like both, but there's one that
you
just
do
fits
have one.
my
Well, don't
palate
say
better.
anything yet.
Oh, don't worry, I won't. I'll be
I mean,
quiet
you
this
can say
time.
all you want, just don't reveal yet.
I think number 4's got a slightly higher proof than number 3 or number 2. Sorry, just because the way it hits your palate. But it's either that or it's slightly younger, one or the other.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it over 105. I think
No.
it's still like
On my
a
score
good-
on my card, I have equals plus. So
I know
like,
you do.
yeah,
But that would be my guesstimate, about 105 proof.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right?
No more than.
Gotcha.
That's my opinion.
I hope you're right.
I hope so too.
Because then we can put it on the screen right here.
She
Ding.
was wrong.
Yeah.
No. That's reserved for me.
These two are a lot closer
They
than the other two.
are. And I'm going to have to get another fill because I'm like going back and forth, and we needed one of these to go against 3 on the other
And
side.
you're empty.
I'm almost empty on both of them.
I as well.
So I needed a refill, so we took a little break and we brought a little more fill into my glasses. So
Yes.
Magic.
Magic.
snap of a finger. Can I do it?
Hey.
It was weak, but
That was weak.
it still happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I can tell that my palate's fully awake because nothing's hitting me super hard. I'm getting a lot of sweet from everything.
They're both very good, though.
oh, yeah.
They're both very flavorful as far as like sweetness goes, but I think they're proof negative to me because nothing's like hitting me and like it's not
yeah.
real long finish. It's pleasant.
Yes.
They're both pleasant.
See,
Both-
like, coming from a cocktail background, too, I don't know what I would put these in. There's nothing that it would jump out as like, ooh, this would be really good in this particular cocktail.
I am not very well versed on cocktails. Like I don't know like many of the options. I know of like a old fashioned.
Yep.
I know of like mint julep if it happens to be
Derby time.
Derby time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't put a finished product in like a mint julep.
No.
Myself.
But there are some cocktails that do
That's
really
kind
well.
of the point of these finished products is they're supposed to stand on their own.
Right.
They're already complex.
And I agree with you. I wouldn't put any of these in like a cocktail, I don't think. I think it
What's the one we make with the Amaro?
Oh, the paper plane.
Yeah.
You like a paper plane.
Yeah.
you mentioned in the past like a fruit press or something.
He likes presses.
I love.
What is that about?
So it's the it's like a blackberry. It's not a press. It's the
Oh, you're talking about the smashes.
yes, my smashes.
He loves peach smashes,
blackberry smashes. So you get your glass and you put in your fruit of choice and a little bit of simple syrup and
You-
muddle the craziness out of it.
Yep. You add your bourbon.
You add your bourbon,
A little bit of mint.
put ice on top,
Yeah. Shake
then
the crap out of it.
shake it
and then
up.
Use seltzer on top.
and then you top it off with seltzer in your glass. When you give your mint a good slap, put it in there. So when you get it, it's super refreshing, super tasty.
Really?
And like it's a drink that you can pretty much put any base fruit in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are his go-tos.
That's interesting.
Yeah, peach and blackberry. I made a mulberry smash. We got mulberry trees. That was almost too sweet.
Okay.
Because
You
mulberries
didn't-
are really
you-
sweet.
You could have done that without simple.
I could have.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they're really good.
I wonder if it would ever stand out. Like if you took 4 different bourbons.
Yeah, it does.
If you had the same smash
Yep.
and compared them, would it be the same outcome as if you took those 4 bourbons and just did them neat? And you know what I mean?
So I have
Because
done. So
there's
like
nuances to it where it's like, oh, this works better as a smash,
Yes.
as a mixer,
Yep.
than it does as a neat product.
Right.
Like,
I know, like last year for Thanksgiving, my grandpa was over, and I was making him really, really high end the Manhattans with like really nice base spirits. And I don't want to say them because everyone will crucify me for using the stuff I was using. Some of them were really nice Buffalo Trace products. Some of them were
Yeah,
some
and they
really
weren't,
nice
like-
Jim Beam products, and some of them.
They were Luxardo or the what's
Yeah.
the other Italian cherry we have?
I think it was an M.
I can't remember, but it's the blue and white like jar. It's real
Yeah.
pretty with little flower drawings on it.
But you could taste the difference by the base spirit because it has its own flavor profiles. It has its own stuff that it brings to the table. And I always kind of figure like if you're gonna, you're gonna make a good dinner, you're gonna use good ingredients. So if you're
Yeah.
gonna make a nice cocktail, use nice ingredients.
Within reason.
Yeah, you're not gonna
Within
make a Wisconsin style old fashioned with Pappy.
I hope not.
Right. I mean, you could, but you shouldn't.
If you've got, again, disposable income,
Within reason.
Right. Like I said, you could.
you could. Absolutely.
My go-tos for bourbon cocktails is Knob Creek or Maker's Mark.
They are very full
Those are
flavored. Yeah.
Solid
Yeah.
base spirits for,
Because it punctures through anything you're putting on it.
and it doesn't hurt
Yeah.
your checkbook. You don't go. "Ah."
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah. So is
Even
that,
at a bar, I'll order. If you have knob or if you have makers,
Right.
that's my
well,
choice.
and
Don't
it's
give
it's
me your
super
rail
it's
whiskey.
it's super available. It's super affordable in that range of pricing, right? You're looking at nothing more than like $40 for a bottle,
Right.
And
for the basic, yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, there's always options.
right,
above
but
that.
but if you're just going straight makers, general makers, and you're going straight just Jim Beam white label, that's whatever. Even Knob Creek is like $38 a bottle.
Yeah.
And it's available at every gas station. It seems like every Quick Trip, every Buc-ee's, every So like I feel like that's a good one to go with because it's going to be consistent, reliable.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the Knob Creek episode that we're going to have eventually.
We have a Knob Creek episode.
Oh, yeah, we will. We will. Yeah, I recently got a Knob Creek 18. I have the 12. I've got a
Very nice.
single barrel
I
store
haven't had the
pick.
18, but the 12 is so good.
I haven't even opened that one yet.
The
So.
12 is happy.
Is
It's
it?
so good.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah. All right.
Well, let's,
I know what I like.
Yeah, Bekah started early saying she knew kind of.
I don't have to open it though.
You're gonna because you
I
started
can wait.
it. No.
Do you want to wait?
I want to wait.
So she's the tiebreaker, maybe.
Maybe.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm not scared.
We'll go this way then.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with number 4. I enjoyed that tropical kind of banana spice thing I was getting off of it. I'm a big tiki drink fan, so it kind of gave me those kind of vibes off of it. And then the finish was nice and clean. It just felt like it had a little bit higher proof than the other one. Like we said, it might be wrong, but I just feel like it has a slightly higher proof point too.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with number 4.
Very good. I tasted both of these, and I actually kind of thought the proof points were similar.
Yeah.
I was really leaning towards 2 early on, and 4, I was like, something was just different with it. And then as I waited and went back to it, then I'm like, actually, I do prefer 4 more than 2. So I picked 4, and I wish I had like more like knowledge-based input to add, but I don't. Other than
It's the whiskey.
it's the whiskey I enjoy right now. So they both were.
They're
it was
very
close,
tasty, but they're
Yes.
very tasty. Like
Yeah.
they're not, one's not leaps and bounds ridiculously better.
Right. Exactly. Well put. So I went with 4. So
I agree there were similar proof points. I do think 4 had a little bit more brought to the table. There was a robustness to it. Even though with 2 we got like mint, we got eucalyptus, we got smooth, we got refreshing, we got all this stuff. But 4 just like, hey, I'm here. What's up? So I agree. 4 was more enjoyable. Even though I
Nice.
may not have gotten all the tropical notes that Adam did.
Right.
I knew right away that my palate enjoyed it. So
you did say early on this is the winner.
I found it.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, here to 4.
Yay!
Nice. All right. So we are going to bring out glass
1 and 2?
bottle 1 and 2, and we will talk about what they are.
1 and 2.
We're going to reveal glass number 1, which was.
Ooh.
That's interesting. It's Angel's Envy Triple Oak. Now, this says Triple Oak. However, it's more of a finished Triple Oak. So it's
Right. So it's not like oaked 3 times. It's like the standard, like, hey, you put it in new American white oak barrels and then you separate it into 3 separate oaks. So it actually shows on this little tag with the 3
Do
oaks.
you want to talk about what 3 different separate things? And I'll take a picture of what the
you're going
tag
to have
shows.
me do that just because it's hard to read, right?
Yeah.
Hungarian oak, chickapin, and French.
Chickapin?
To create the triple oak finish.
Chickapin, Hungarian chickapin oak.
So obviously it went in American white oak for the 4 years
Yeah.
and then sat for whatever length of time. Not everybody tells you how long it is.
Has
It could
anybody
be
here
as
heard of
short as a couple
chinkapin
months.
before?
I have heard of it. Only because of right at Disney World.
You learn a lot from Disney World, don't you?
That's her fault. She goes, you don't pay attention. I pay more attention than anything.
Chickapin Hill?
Yeah,
You're talking
that's
about
the
South-
oak. That is the oak tree that they're talking about on that. Yeah.
That is
Song of the
awesome.
South,
I am really
Bourbon,
surprised it
Bourbon.
came off that way. Like
Yeah.
when we first tasted it, I'm getting like I was thinking mellow water, like it was refreshing.
Refreshing. Yeah.
Well,
Bright
because I think
nose.
the name triple oak makes you think it's going to be like bow in your face.
Yeah, and it is
oaky,
90. It's
and
92
not.
proof.
Oh,
It's lower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a new one. It kind of just came out recently. So like finding it has been kind of hit or miss. Anytime there's newish releases, they're kind of
yeah.
It
weird to
is
find.
at Total Wine. You can find it at
Total Wine. I think I got that one at Autos. There's a couple other places too that are having it. It should be in their normal rotation. They're supposed to have it in their normal rotation, but when it first drops, it's a little bit different.
But I think the name is deceiving.
It is. Yeah, it's just more oak finished.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like the French oak makers, right? That one's just finished in the French oak barrels.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it did create a real like mellow.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
like we said, like
The makers have the staves
Yeah.
that they put in.
Okay.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
But
similar
like we
type.
said earlier, like all these bottles actually were pretty all tasty. There was nothing
They were.
that was unpleasant about any of these, and they're all very sippable and drinkable.
I agree. And that's a great point because they were pretty tasty.
Yeah.
Like all of them.
It's like our double oaked episode. When we did that one, it's like,
Yeah. To be fair, though, I mean, 1 going against 3, we all were like, okay,
3 was fantastic.
it's kind of a big difference.
Yes.
However, it's not like this one was bad. It just
Correct.
went against a flavor bomb.
right.
It
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
not to say that 4 can't beat it, but
Yeah.
we'll come to it. And now we'll show what lost to number 4, and that's Glass 2. And that is a Dexter.
Dexter.
So Dexter is, and I'm just going to read it real quick, and of course we'll show it on here as well. Dexter's a 3-wood straight bourbon whiskey finished with 200-year oak, maple wood, and cherry wood. And I'll just read the back also. Edmund Dexter was a world-famous whiskey maker. He hosted the future King Edward of England and author Charles Dickens at his home on the 4th Street in Cincinnati. So this is a Cincinnati
Yeah.
bourbon. After resting in traditional oak barrels, Dexter is woodcraft, and that's a trademark, finished using woods the way Edmund might have done. Yeah, reclaimed 200-year oak, maple wood, and cherry wood. So if you reclaim, is that almost like used like barn wood maybe?
So there's different ways to reclaim wood, right? There is a whole industry about going into the rivers that used to transport logs and digging the ones up that sank, because the grain structure on them is different, and the colors on them are different because everything now is all new growth. So those older growth have different like presentation of their stuff, and that's where they sell it high for like furniture or stuff like that. So to use that in a whiskey barrel is pretty baller. That's like,
No kidding.
actually just tried that one at the liquor store the other day, and it was like it's everywhere right now too. Like,
Yeah.
you can get it like everywhere, and price point's what, like 40-ish
I
bottle.
want to see if I still have it. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's not like it's not super expensive.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Which you would think it would be with a 200-year-old oak.
Right,
Like,
right.
But
Like,
with you saying that, you know, if you dredge it up from some riverbed or some
yeah.
place, I mean, you can still use the wood if as long as it's not like rotted through.
Yeah, and usually those hardwoods like that, they once they get underneath like in the muck or whatever, there's no oxygen, so they last forever.
That's how piers actually last
that's how
as well.
like Venice or whatever,
Yeah.
right? In Italy,
Right.
that's how that stays up. That's
Because
how
they're
it
underwater, so they
Yep.
stop rotting
Yep.
almost, which is very interesting. There's just a little bit more on this about reading. Just says connoisseurs love the results, awarding it a 95 rating, which is extraordinary or ultimate recommendation at the Ultimate Spirits Challenge, and rating it as one of the 100 top spirits in the world. So
Coming back to it, I'm getting more than I did the first time, but also it was up against 3, just like 1 was up against 4.
Yeah.
So
well, 1 was against 3, 2 was against 4.
I
Yeah.
apologize.
No, it's fine.
Either way,
I would
2,
try it.
Yeah.
Like I did have some more
Yeah.
to come back to it.
I did go back and forth between those two, you know, because I had a little bit left, and again, they're both very, very tasty. But Dexter tastes more finished, like as a finishing process, than
Yeah.
the Angel's Envy finishes more bourbony.
I agree, and we've made comments about Angel's Envy and saying that they know their finishes.
Yes.
Like we were like that's all
That's
they
what
do.
they do.
That's
It's
all they do.
Yeah.
And so it's like they know how to finish, and it lost.
Yeah.
You know, so and not necessarily to the Dexter. However,
And that is exactly, it's 50.3%, so it's 100.6 proof. So it's proof even as it gets, pretty much. And we said proof equal. So.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for looking that up, because I would have forgot to do that. Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We will go on to taste the winners of those two, which is 3 and 4. And I just recently had 4, so I'm going to go back to 3. Tasty options here.
I'm guessing one of these is probably a rye for multiple reasons.
I don't know.
I just know that that our host likes to throw in curveballs on us.
I
once
do.
in a while.
I do.
And I'm like,
I think both of these are curveballs. I
might
know.
be.
I know what they are.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean,
which one they are?
right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell you this is that one or this is the other one. I mean, if you're like listening to
But
this,
you have a guesstimate.
I really would-
I know what the two are.
Yeah.
But I don't know which one they are in front of me.
I really wish one of them you'd be like, yeah, dude, it's like $26. It's available at every Pick and Save and Century and any Kroger store across the country. And I'd be like, oh my God, that's it.
I hope so too. I hope.
They're both fantastic.
They are.
You will not go wrong by purchasing either one of these in the store. I'm going to say that now before I announce my winner.
And I would venture a guess, or I would venture being bold enough, I guess, to actually say that I typically am not a big fan of finished products. These two that are left, they're delicious. Like,
yeah.
they're not like hiding anything.
No.
They start with a great product and then
Yeah.
they finish with fantastic options. So whatever it ends up being,
One, and I think too, like we've talked about it before, and then especially after our double oaked episode, when we've started diving deeper into like what's a toasted, what's a double oaked, those are all just different finishes, right? So like understanding like what are we considering a finished whiskey, right? Like how, like what is our category for that is gonna, I think, really kind of changes. Like if you people say, oh, I don't like finished whiskeys. Well, it's like, well, you just not like a port wine finished whiskey, because there's a lot of different types of finishing. Like the toast is the double oaks, the triple oaks, the maple oak sherry cask, like, you know, and I think it comes down again. Rum casks. I saw Chardonnay the other day. Like I've seen beer bottle, like the one I was telling you about, you know, beer barrels. And
What's the Madeira oak they keep talking about?
it's another oak. There's a worldwide American white oak shortage. So they're trying to, which is why we're getting all these crazy cool wood finishes, is
Sure.
because they're trying to come up with a way to age or put whiskey and stuff. Because
that makes sense.
There's a massive, like Fred No just had a recent article, and I think Aficionado or something, that was talking about the massive white oak shortage. And that's part of the reason why a lot of the bourbon's getting expensive too. Is
Okay.
because sourcing wood is getting extremely expensive.
Because it's got to be, to be a bourbon, it's got to be new charred oak
Yes, and that's
barrels.
and
You
that's-
can't reuse a barrel.
Correct, and that's the difference. So like Michter's Americana or Michter's American, right? The reason why they can't call that a bourbon, it's 100% their bourbon mash bill, but they used reused bourbon barrels.
Sure.
So they're using that, and which is why the flavor profile isn't as big and punchy, but it's like smooth and mellow, and you get more of those caramely, sugary flavors and less the charry flavors. And that's why you get to that point, is because they're trying to figure out a way. Hey, how can we reuse our barrels
Right.
before we have to junk them?
Yeah, and there's a process where you can actually sand out the barrels used.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine like using the toasted barrels where they're not
Right.
like super charred and they're not aged for very long either.
Right.
Usually it's like 6 months or whatever.
But how
So
many
it's not
times
really
can you
sucking
sand it
in
down?
the wood. You could sand that down,
Yeah.
rechar it like a high char level,
Yeah.
and reuse that barrels. And maybe there's
that
options
still
to
count,
do
though.
that. You wouldn't be able to do that,
Right.
For a bourbon,
Right. So that's why we're.
But it still has all the properties
have
that would
to
be
be American
beneficial.
whiskey.
Correct.
Right. So it's, there is a waste level to that. You're
Right.
right. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's cool about bourbon barrels and stuff, people make tables and little cabinets. And I mean,
car air fresheners, all sorts of different things.
it's not wasteful to make bourbon. You can reuse the barrel.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
When I do my
more
basement,
bourbon.
I'm going to be using some.
There's a lot of
some bourbon barrels
There's
and stuff.
Scottish whiskeys and Irish whiskeys, and a lot of stuff coming out of Japan now that is using bourbon barrels, spent bourbon barrels. Wine sometimes is starting to use some of those instead of the other way around where we finish in wine
Sure.
barrels. They're starting to finish in whiskey barrels.
I love the beer that's finished in bourbon barrels.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Those are-
I did not like it the other way around.
No. Right. Yeah,
You've
exactly.
mentioned that in the past. No,
Yeah.
it's not good.
It's almost like the order of like drinking. Like you need to drink from heavy to light to not have a hangover.
Yes.
Like you need to finish.
Well, you mentioned
Like
Finish heavy.
Yes.
Yes.
you mentioned your wine club. Like there's wine finished in bourbon barrels too. Sometimes that creates a really
I've never had one.
No?
No.
Like Cabernet finished in bourbon?
No, that
They're
sounds
absolutely
interesting.
out there.
They're good.
Yeah.
I've never had that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it goes to like, are they actually just putting it right in the bourbon barrels, or are they just doing the stave trick, or are they making a giant wine barrel out of old, barrels? Like,
I love that phrase, the stave trick.
The stave trick.
Because it is.
Yeah.
You're taking away having to build a whole barrel to age
Yes.
something and just throwing flavored,
Yes.
like charred like, staves in there.
There's some dudes out there that are doing a super good job at doing that. It's just how do you change the flavor with? It's amazing the amount of flavors you get out of something that's essentially 4 ingredients.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
And the fifth ingredient's time.
Pretty much.
Time and
Location.
heat. It's
Yeah.
like those are your 5th and 6th ingredient,
Well, have we come to a consensus on what we're tasting? What's going to come up with the win?
I have.
Ooh.
And you have a winner?
Oh yeah.
And I also have a winner.
Should I go backwards this time and
Sure.
I'll start?
Sure. That sounds good.
Yeah, right out the gate, I enjoyed this caramel apple spiciness. Number 3 is my pick.
That's awesome. Did you find anything wrong with 4 that you were tasting?
4 was great. So it was actually kind of difficult for me to say no to it. And I kept drinking more of it like, what am I missing? And I do. I love it. It's great. But 3 is just, maybe in the summer I might pick 4, but right now I'm picking 3 because of the time of year.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like it knocked 1 out of the water, and 1 is Angel's Envy, triple oak, and we've never had an Angel's Envy that we didn't enjoy. Like
Right.
when we first said, when we were starting to knock some of these out, we're like, none of them are bad.
Right.
Like you're gonna enjoy these.
Yes.
And so I was thinking, for 3 to knock that out, it's awesome. But then 2 and 4 were fantastic also.
Yes.
And so 4 was delicious, and I had to re-pour, and it's now empty again.
Right.
Like it's delicious.
Yes.
But I agree with Bekah that 3 will take this win for me, and
Well, I mean that's gonna win no matter what I pick.
it will.
Yeah, but
but
we're
we
curious
we
what you
definitely
like.
want to know your input.
Oh yeah, no. So I'm gonna go with 3.
Yeah.
The one thing that I thought was interesting is on 4. I'm getting scotchy notes,
Oh,
which is kind of interesting. That smoked peat kind of flavor, a little bit peaty, and I usually really like that. I mean, I like it a lot, but like against that sweet baking spice that I'm getting off of number 3, I can't choose it over it. So yeah, but like those, like the tropical banana spice kind of leather stuff, a lot of those are in some of your nice scotches too. And that's, I think, why it was popping in my head. Took me a while to figure out, a whole glen of what flavor I'm getting out of that. And I think it's kind of scotchy. And I do like scotch. I'm not anti-scotch, but
Right.
I am going to go with 3 because of that caramel apple-y baking spice notes that I was getting that held through with the nice long finish. And so I went with 3.
here's the 3. All right, we're gonna take we're gonna go get these and find out what they are, because I am super curious.
I
Yes.
can't wait.
I can't wait to see what these are. All right, so we're back, and we've got some options.
I am so excited to see these.
So we'll reveal number 4 first.
Yeah.
Because that was the runner-up, and number 4 is
Another Dexter.
Another Dexter.
another Dexter,
A
and this is
small
a
bat
weeded.
wheat.
So that's really interesting that this Dexter went up against the other Dexter, and the weeded Dexter actually beat the straight bourbon Dexter.
I would have never guessed that 2 and 4 are the same distillery.
I would
Yeah.
never guess that either.
No. I
However-
really wonder how similar that mash bill is, though.
Well, one's wheat and one's corn.
Right.
Correct.
Forward. And interestingly, the previous one says 3 wood
Yes.
right under the Dexter name. I looked over this thing to see if it ever said 3 wood, and it doesn't.
It has 2 woods.
However, it does mention, and let me just read it then. So Dexter small batch wheat. It's a straight wheat whiskey finished with 200-year oak and cherry wood.
So there's no maple.
Yep, this one was finished in cherry oak.
It's the oak, maple, and cherry. is
That's
this one.
what it is then. However, when you read the back, so here I'll do it. This small batch bottling is part of the Dexter Great Grains collection that celebrates the 4 most popular whiskey grains: wheat, corn, rye, and barley. Edmund Dexter was one of the leading barrel blenders of the 1800s. He was so famous, the future King Edward the... What's a V and 2 ones?
Seventh.
Seventh. King Edward VII of England and author Charles Dickens visited him at his home on 4th Street in Cincinnati. Dexter's small batch wheat is rested in American oak barrels. That's one. Then woodcraft finished with vintage 200-year oak and artesian cherry wood. Do they make a barrel just with 2 different wood grains? Like one barrel?
Man.
Well, like I said, with the triple oak, they divided up the barrels into separate.
Barrels and then recombined it. Kind of like the double single barrel from Lux.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not
I don't
It's
know.
interesting. It sounds like 3 different types of wood, though, doesn't it?
I think we should take a trip to Ohio.
I think you're right. We keep talking about
Okay,
trips
what's
and we
the
never do
proof?
it. We need
I know.
to do
We
it.
should do a
What's the
trip.
proof point between the 2 of those?
Oh,
This
good
one,
question.
they're exactly the same.
Identical
50.3.
proof. Okay.
So they are
Right.
over 100 proof.
They're right just a shade over, which is, like I said, equal plus.
I said 105 max for 4.
Yeah.
I felt it was a little less, but
Well,
you guys were right. I mean, it was close.
Right, but now that we're looking at it, right, it's like, well, we know wheated's kind of, we talked about it.
We
the
did.
Wheated's or like the finish is kind of like take some of that proof off.
it does.
I just,
Right.
I just wish I knew how old this one was.
Both of them, both
They
the
don't
Dexters don't give any age statement, which
Yeah.
and typically with a bourbon you have to. These don't
But they're
qualify.
finished.
No, you don't have to. A bourbon has to be, yeah.
Bourbon has to be at least 4 years old, but
A
these
bourbon-
aren't technically a bourbon.
That is actually labeled as a bourbon.
Okay.
Right, but then the finishing length is not always.
No,
disclosed.
finishing can be
length is whatever.
anything. Yeah.
And that's
Well, and that's what I
6
was wondering.
months, 8
So,
months,
like,
12.
I know that this one's a wheat, right?
Right.
But what percentages are they? That's what I was wondering. The mash bill, is this 51% corn, 48% wheat? You know, like what's the mash bill percentage of them?
Yeah, and you're right, because I love when companies are really like transparent and
Yeah.
tell you everything that's in it.
That's like the Bardstown. They do a really good disclosure event every time they have.
No, I'm not saying this is Bardstown, but I'm saying this is very transparent as well.
Oh, okay.
And
Gotcha.
so I think the segue would say
Hey,
that
what is
let's
it?
find out what it is. So glass 1
Old
or
Elk
glass 3, I'm
cigar
sorry, glass
cut.
3 is an Old Elk
I need to buy that next time I see it.
I've seen it.
cigar cut.
I just saw it today.
And it's delicious. I mean, we've all tasted it now, and people are like, "What makes it a cigar cut?" So this is straight whiskey finished in port, and this is what I needed my phone for to look up: a Sauternese. Have you ever heard of a Sauternese or a
The
Sauterne?
word. Absolutely not.
It's a wine. It's a white wine,
That's what was my guess, but that would be solvent. Yeah, no.
and I don't know the actual true pronunciation of it.
Oh, and they have different base spirits in each one of them.
Yeah, sherry and rum barrels. So it's like, yeah, and I'll read that.
Yeah.
I'll read it.
I was looking at that.
This thing is 111 proof. Did you taste 111 proof on this
No.
thing?
no,
it was
I called out 95 to 100.
I said mid.
This thing is so smooth, and it like we instantly knew we enjoyed it.
Yes.
This is a fantastic bottle. Old Elk cigar cut, and I'll read the side here. It's called Island Blend. This, our second release of Old Elk cigar cut, I want to find the first, was crafted by our desire to extend summer as long as possible. Which, being in Wisconsin, we all want to extend
Yes,
summer as
yes.
long as possible. A journey from the mountains to the islands. This pour is a one-way ticket to tropical warm weather. It's a delicious
It
bottle.
is super good.
So now on the side, if you want to see, there's like it shows like different.
See, I love when they
Blends
do that.
and
Yeah,
That's
the
shows-
transparency is so appreciated.
Bardstown Fusion Series will do the exact same thing.
Exactly.
So it's always really nice.
So I'll read
Yeah.
this and I'll show it on that video. The base whiskey is Old Elk 6-year high malt bourbon, and that's finished. It's a cask finish And it has two different cask finishes. There's a cherry and port for this base whiskey. And the sherry cask finish is for 2 years. So some of it's for 2 years in this sherry. And then the port is 6 to 10 months as a secondary age for that base whiskey. The second of 3 base whiskeys is Old Elk 6-year rye. So we're talking 2 6 years so far.
Yeah. Well, and the other one too, after aging for, was it say 2 years in the,
and then the 2 years.
So you're
like 8 years right there.
Yeah.
So going off the Old Elk 6-year rye, it's the cask finish is rum. We love cask finish rum. That's done for 8 months in that one. And the very last base whiskey is Old Elk 6-year wheat. So this is almost like a 4-grain.
Yeah.
We could have done a 4-grain episode, which eventually in the future we're going to do a 4-grain episode. But all of them are 6-year and aged extra with the cask finish. And this is the one where the Sauternes is, or Sauternes, however you pronounce that. And that's secondary aged is 6 months. So that is delicious.
It is super good. I've seen it and I was like, should I get it or not? And I just keep not doing it, but I'm definitely not making that mistake again.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right?
And if you look at the bottle topper, it's an antler.
It is. It's like a
fun.
cross-cut section of an elk horn,
fun.
which is neat.
Yeah.
That is really neat. You guys, thank you so much for joining me and finding out what the best bourbons of this season is. I always enjoy you guys coming out because you guys add so much to this
We
experience.
love coming out. We have a great time.
Well, then it's a
Win.
bond made in heaven. However it is, it's fantastic and I enjoy it. So we hope you do too as viewers. There's the Sauternes. Mm-hmm. It's a white wine.
Yeah, the Sauternes is a French
Sauternes.
sweet wine from the region of Graves in Bordeaux. So it's a white Bordeaux, essentially.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's a Sauvignon Blanc, essentially. That's a grapevine, and it's grown in... What?
I started to say that. I'm like, isn't that the Sauvignon? I'm like, no, Sauternes? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, but no, that's where...
So that's how you pronounce it then, Sauternes?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
but it's essentially the Sauvignon Blanc, which I started to say earlier, and
Right.
then I was
But
not
it's
sure.
But the region it's grown in is Bordeaux.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now I know.
Now I know. Sorry.
I love knowing about wine on a bourbon podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure you like and subscribe. See you next episode.
Later.
Bye.
Perfect.